There's so many ways to talk about Ella Montgomery's book covers. They transport us to World War I Canada, 1920s flapper Europe, post-World War II Sweden, and 1960s flower child America. They are cultural artifacts that reveal changing perspectives and cultural norms around a whole range of topics, including femininity, childhood, romance, marriage, war, identity. They reveal how books were marketed at different times in different places, as well as changing fashions. So there's so many ways we can talk about Montgomery's book covers, but today I'm going to focus on how they evoke a sense of place. And this is so important because Montgomery herself wrote so evocatively about place, especially Prince Edward Island. She has made people fall in love with this island and feel like they know it even before they set foot here. So given Montgomery's and her characters like Emily and Anne's love of nature, it's not surprising that the natural world features prominently on the book covers. So for example, on this Arabic edition, we have Anne running through a green world. Sometimes nature is highly aestheticized, as in this Japanese Emily Climbs edition. Other times nature is more natural looking, if kind of beautifully abundant, as in this Magic for Marigolds book cover. Often on these book covers, we see the heroine in nature. And here on this book cover, the watercolored blurring edges between the heroine and the world around her really emphasize that connection between heroine and the outer world. The heroine is in her happy place in these natural settings. In the novels, when Montgomery's heroines are in nature, magic and imagination are often palpable, and often the figures of the heroine's imagination are made visible on the book covers. So for example, on this edition of Emily of New Moon, the Wind Woman of her imagination is visible. Then on this book cover for the Blue Castle, we see the metaphorical Blue Castle, which is Valency's escape in the Muskoka region of Ontario, become literalized as an actual blue castle. When readers of Montgomery's work come away from the novels, it's usually this romantic, spiritual, imaginative sense of nature that they come away with. But of course, there was a lot of work being done in nature, specifically agricultural work in these novels. She does write, after all, about PEI farm girls. And some of the book covers do represent this world. So for example, this Danish edition of Anne of Green Gables shows Anne just about to feed the chickens, or maybe she's just finished that chore. There's also a Japanese edition of Anne of Green Gables where we see Anne in the midst of her farm chores. And so these two book covers and ones like them really situate the heroines in their agricultural settings of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So far, we've seen book covers where the heroine is alone, but often she is with someone else, and that someone else is usually a suitor and her eventual husband. And this is the case in the Seal editions that I grew up reading. Like in many of the book covers, we have the suitor with the heroine in nature, which shows that he's comfortable in a place that's important to her. But often, having the suitor on these book covers overemphasizes his role in the narrative. Now, of course, there are romance plot lines in most of Montgomery's novels, and romance does sell. But Anne on the Island, for example, is about Anne going away to university and living with her female friends. But none of that appears on this cover. And instead we get Gilbert. And so that's why I think this Polish edition is so interesting, because it focuses on Anne in her academic robes, on her educational journey. It also places her in an educational setting, and specifically an urban one, far away from her conventional rural PEI setting. This French cover of Emily of New Moon shows a rare indoor setting for a Montgomery book cover. And again, we have the suitor, Teddy Kent, in this image. He's looking away from Emily and smaller than her. But what's important here is that his work, his painting of Emily, is what is featured. And so this emphasis on his artistic output rather than Emily's is interesting, especially in a series that's about the development of a young female artist, specifically Emily's journey as a young writer. The setting, like I said, is indoors. Although Teddy is looking out the window, we don't see the outside world. And there's a sense of claustrophobia. You can't see the outside world. It's very brown. And I think this depiction of the room, plus the sidelining of Emily's own art, and the emphasis on Teddy's offers quite a pessimistic reading of the series, one in which Emily's art will be marginalized as she supports Teddy's career. However, there are book covers where Emily's writing is featured, as in this Japanese edition, which really highlights the important central thrust of these novels, Emily's development as a young writer. These are just a few of the ways that Montgomery's book covers have depicted landscape, place, and nature. I'm actually going to finish with a book that doesn't yet exist. Braden Press is doing a Gaelic translation of Anne of Green Gables, Anna Rouge. And this is so interesting because Gaelic would have been spoken throughout the Prince Edward Island of Montgomery's youth. Her husband, Reverend Ewan MacDonald, was fluent in Gaelic, which is the language of the Scottish Highlands, and would read the Bible to elders in the local community in Gaelic. In 1901, just a few years before Anne of Green Gables is published, Gaelic was actually the fourth most spoken language in all of Canada. So this edition of Anne of Green Gables in Gaelic reconnects this land, this place, PEI and Canada, to a forgotten part of its cultural and linguistic heritage. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, we will be making more, so be sure to subscribe. Do you have any questions or maybe ideas for future videos? Be sure to leave them in the comments. And if you like this video, you might also enjoy Dr. Edward MacDonald's series on PEI history.